Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this news is not the most positive news, and it's news that we're going to give an outside opinion about Concord, the absolute failure of the gaming industry, probably one of the biggest failures that I have ever seen. And I thought the DC Universe game Suicide Squad was the biggest blunder that we saw out of the year so far, but apparently that is not. That video game apparently is not the pinnacle of failure. This is Concord, which is shocking. My quick 2 cents. I know Fire hasn't even. We're gonna give a nice outside opinion because I haven't followed this news. I didn't even know what this game was until just a couple days ago. But after seeing the numbers, they are so brutal. So Fire, just to give you a little context. This is a game that has 8 years of development behind it. This has over $100 million, I believe, invested behind it. It also is a video game that launched on Friday with only a peak of about 700 players, and it's just continuously dropping. And we see that launched on Steam, and we saw it launch on Sony platform. It's a game that costs $40. That is very much like Overwatch. That is apparently very uninspired, and we've seen some of the characters that are just not resonating with anybody. I would say the cast of characters is very. I don't know why it looks like AI generated. I know that's harsh. Listen, like I know it's.
No, it does. Absolutely.
I know it's mean, but like, I just. This is not good when stuff like this happens. I'm gonna pass it off to you, Fire, to get your thoughts. I know I have a lot to say. It's unfair because like I'm sure there's a lot of good developers that worked on this, but I hate to see projects like this fail because then that impacts content creators, it impacts streamers, it impacts money going into the gaming industry, and we've already seen it reflect with people losing faith, losing money, and then us just getting the short end of the stick. Gamers, we lose. We lose when stuff like this happens. So it's like, I can't believe like this happened. Like I know the beta didn't do well. So how did this happen? Like, Fire, I'm gonna pass it off to you before I freak out.
Okay. Yeah, the characters look like they built a lot of like really, really unique assets and then hit roll, like random roll like you would on like a character creator. And then it just kind of ended up sideways. It's not that any one of them are particularly bad. It's just like they don't feel cohesive. That's what I'm looking at over here. Yeah, it has a 10% rating on OpenCritic. That's abysmal, obviously. I don't know how you get to this point. If you would have asked me, 6 months ago, worst game that came out, I would. There've been a lot of things, but I would have never seen something like this coming. Especially in now's days when everything gets like alpha tested to the death. Especially when it gets to shooters. Like I would imagine they would have released this thing as an alpha like 35 times and then realized it wasn't worth it and then cut it before they released it to 697 players on Steam.
It loses a lot of confidence. It's like it's hard to see this in the scene because then we are going to lose the confidence of investors in future projects. When there's a video game, let's say like for example, Gollum, I thought was the pinnacle of what a bad video game would be, or like we had mentioned, the DC game, and so I was like, okay, it can't get worse than that. And then this happens. I looked at the gameplay. The gameplay doesn't look awful. I think the biggest problem with the game is that it just looks mediocre to the point where I don't know if it was a marketing failure too. Maybe the game is actually. When people play it, no, I've actually watched the reviews. I can't even sugarcoat it. The gameplay just doesn't feel anything unique, and so it's just run-of-the-mill, the same thing. And that's, I guess, part of the problem. You're going into an industry of something you made 8 years ago, and you already have stuff in the industry that is free to play, like Overwatch. You have hero shooters that go like crazy. I mean, look at the other game that failed colossally, which is Lawbreakers, right? Is that was the title of the game? Lawbreakers also was the same exact format as this, and it failed horribly. So why would you come into the space thinking that it was going to be any different?
Lawbreakers at least was unique with the anti-gravity situation going on.
Yeah, and I feel like this game is just relying mostly on the abilities, which requires a lot of investment from not only the players, but the viewers to understand what is even happening in the game specifically. Yeah. And watching it from the outside, I know the tank gameplay is extremely slow. Watching them move, I was like, wow, this is brutal. I know the other classes move a lot faster, but I mean, if you see that as your first interpretation of the game, then it's not a really good first impression whatsoever. It looks really bad. I couldn't really get a grasp on the real story from an outside perspective, which was also a struggle. I think a lot of these BRs or free-to-play games have a strong story around them. Like, I mean, Apex, it's like, okay, Titanfall, Call of Duty, great. And then you got all the great Call of Duties behind it and the things that you love in terms of certain maps. You have PlayerUnknown, which is one of the pinnacles that was built from kind of H1Z1, like that feel, that style. So
they have a They have a legacy to expect it to be a good game.
Yeah, so we're coming, and I know those were more BRs, but same thing with Overwatch. When it came out, there was a lot of cinematic trailers that almost felt like Pixar level stories.
Oh yeah,
That
Blizzard's
really,
amazing at that stuff.
yeah, that really sold you on these characters. I remember every time they released a new character, it was like an experience. It was like, congratulations, we're releasing the new Toy Story film. Is what it felt like. It was like an event. And so
Yeah.
Concord coming in, and I think that's the shame of it, is that it's coming in with almost, I didn't even know about it. The only way I heard about this was because it was such a failure.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear any of the good news about it. I never even got to really it wasn't until I went to go watch everyone's opinion and watch gameplay for myself and then for my own opinion, I was like, wow, yeah, this is, I mean, I know we've been kind of showcasing some of the characters here and there, but some of the characters, like we had said, just feel, they don't even feel like what is their purpose in the bigger universe, or what is the story? I really want to know, like, why they're fighting, what they're doing. And I guarantee they explain it. And I heard that they have longer cutscenes that try to push for that kind of stuff to keep you invested, but you already are like checked out before it even happens, which I'm not really sure how that occurs, really.
I couldn't even begin to tell you how that happened.
And so it's I don't know. I just, again, more of a rant video, more of like concern for our industry when stuff like this happens. I'm most likely, the way I look at it is like red flag. You know, it's kind of like when we saw Battlefield fail with Firestorm. It's like, why did you put it behind a price tag? You know, I know these are people's jobs to figure out, so it just kind of shocks me of like how this one go out the door the way it did. Maybe if the beta numbers only had 2,500 players, don't remove the price tag immediately. You know what I mean? If focus groups aren't really like connecting with a certain character, you're going to have to reshape them and, you know, change them up a little bit. I mean, you and I have been part of that kind of stuff, and
yeah,
I mean, I know, but developers always say they know best, but I mean, there has to be this genuine connection between somebody who's making something and their target audience. And to be fair, I don't know who the target audience is for this game.
They don't either. It's pretty obvious. They wanted based on looking at the game, they took a bunch of things from different games and they're like, they like this, let's put it in.
But the crazy part is, if we say 8 years of development, how does that happen? Where it's like, take this from this other game, put it in. It's like, okay, does that need 8 years of development?
I have no idea.
I mean, I'm not a developer either, so I guess we're shooting in the dark here a little bit. But it worries me and concerns me. I'm just like, how? And take a shot every time I say worries and concerns me. So because it's like, I don't know, I'm at a complete loss. But any final thoughts on the Concord situation? Anything from an outside perspective you can add, or to approach you about it even more?
I'd like to see them drop the $40 price tag and start pumping out more variety for their character stuff.
Maybe just new marketing, getting people to play it at this point, and then say, hey, it's free. And even then, I don't know if it'll make a comeback. You know what they say, that first impression is everything. So whenever everyone looks at this and they see the player count, it's going to be really hard to bounce back. You know, there was a game Redfall that came out, and that even had better numbers and was poorly received as well. I think that Concord is probably better structured and organized and probably runs better than Redfall, but Redfall had more player count than this game does, and that
sucks.
Yeah. So it's a really hard battle to climb at that point. I don't envy anybody on the other end of it. I'm sure the thing that they were concerned about, it's like, hey, make sure the game runs stable, not was anybody going to play it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we look at Deadlock, which is invite only, and I believe their Steam numbers are like 44,000. You know, that released the same day almost as this game did.
Wow.
And that's invite only. You know, we have one game that's paying, you can just hop in and play right now, versus one that's like people are just trying to get access just to experience.
Yeah, they missed finding an audience. I think that's their biggest issue out of everything.
Well, everybody, comment down below what your thoughts are on Concord, the situation. This one we kind of pushed to the forefront in terms of a video, just because I've been seeing a lot about it. And this is kind of our thoughts on the situation from like, I'm sure you guys are all on the same boat. I mean, I don't think anybody's played it. That's why the title is Concord, the game you don't know about. That's a massive failure, because I mean, I don't think anybody knows about this game. So, but everyone's talking about it now. So all we can do is add our input and go take a look at it. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you played it, please comment. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to get one of the few 500 people that have played it running around every video, but I would appreciate just knowing your insight. You know, that'd be awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys all in the next one.